What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today, I'm really excited to bring you my full review of the CMB Made Knives Predator. This one here came in a really nice box, a little bit more than what I was expecting for the price point, but as you can see here, D2, made in China, black G10 handles. It is model number CMB-088W, or the Predator. Now, it does come with a very nice taco. Reminds me very much of the Civivi taco. Inside, you're also going to get the package that it came in. You're going to get some moisture wicking, and you're going to get a really nice orange microfiber cloth. Really nice because you're getting all of this for under $50, which is really nice. Let me go ahead and run through the specs, do the comparison knives for the size, and we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions and alternate recommendations. Going to move this up just a little bit because I realized I am kind of far away. All right, so the CMB Made Knives Predator has a 3.5-inch D2 steel blade, as you saw in the box, 4.5-inch handles, black G10 in this instance, 7.75 inches overall, and the weight came in at 5 ounces. I will do that on the screen for you all to see in person. Zero that out. Which one is it? 4.9 or 5? It was hanging off a little bit there. So we'll call it 4.9 ounces because it did 4.9 twice and I moved it, and that's how I got to the 5. Let's go ahead and run through the comparison sizes, and then we'll jump into thoughts and impressions of this knife. First up is going to be the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. As you can see here, it is a little bit, I'd probably say the same size. Always hard to tell with the knife here, but I think the blade and the handle length really are very similar, so that actually is a very good comparison. Next up, we're going to bring out the Spyderco Shaman. As you can see here, the Shaman is just a little bit bigger than the Predator, so the Predator is more similarly sized to the Yojimbo 2. Next, we're going to bring out the crossbar locks. First, we'll bring out the Benchmade bug out so you can just see how much bigger the Predator actually is over the bug out. And we'll bring out the SIG K320 by Hogue. You can see it's actually kind of directly in between the size of these two knives. There you go. So you can see the SIG a little bit bigger, the bug out much smaller, so the Predator is somewhere in between, which I thought was very interesting, and I thought a very good reference in size for this particular knife. Last but not least, we'll bring out, and I know I'm all over the place, usually I have the bottom be the small knife, but this is the Kubi KU321, also known as the Kubi Royal with cheese, and we have, if you want to save a buck and get a nice knife, the Buck 110, under $30. This is a great beater if you just want a cutting tool that you don't care about, want to throw something in your toolbox. You know, if you just want something on a budget, this is a really good option, and you're supporting a USA manufacturer. As you can see here, the Royal smaller, the Buck is bigger. That's really about what you can tell from the reference there. Next, we'll do some profile comparisons so you can just see how thick or thin the Predator is compared to these other knives. So here it is against the Royal. As you can see here, it is almost as thick as the Royal. The contouring on the Royal is a little bit more taller and a little bit more proud, so you do have more of it there. Here it is against the Benchmade bug out with those steel liners and those G10 scales on top. It's just a much thicker knife. And last but not least, here it is against the Para 3 and Yojimbo 2. As you can see here, it is roughly a bit thicker, just a tiny bit thicker. I'm having a hard time getting it to show up on the camera, but it is just a tiny bit thicker. Thoughts and impressions. This knife has really smooth action. I was really impressed, and I know I'm jumping into that first, but I've had so many knives that I've picked up from Gonzo that have the crossbar lock that's just not as smooth. Even thinking about like the Sativian ST124, it does have that weird spot here where it just, if you don't hold down the lock to close it, it stops. Like, I don't understand that. Gonzo and Sativians both do that. You have to really keep that lock down. Now, this is really smooth, but, and here's a size reference against the ST124 in case you have this model. You can see the Predator is a bigger knife. This actually feels more hard use. But the 124, again, you got to keep that down, and you have nylon washers with bearings, steel bearings inside to get that action. Whereas with the Predator, it is running on phosphor bronze washers. And let me grab my flashlight so hopefully you can see that. Maybe might need to open it a little bit. There you go. You might be able to see it right there. You see the phosphor bronze washer right there. I'll bring it over here and try to zoom in. So you can see, like the Bug Out, this is riding on phosphor bronze washers, and it is very, very smooth. It's not quite as smooth as the bearings on that ST124, but it is really smooth. I really am impressed with the action on that. Now, the D2 on here has a very nice edge. I've cut into boxes. I've sliced some paper after cutting some boxes, and it came with a fantastic edge. As I've said with D2, you do have to maintain that edge, because if you let it get dull, which it'll take a long time to do, it's going to be harder to get that fine edge back. It's easier to strop it and maintain it and keep it fine than it is to get it fine back. It does have a nice tall flat grind. It has a swedge out on the edge, thick stock, but again, it's so tall, they did a nice job keeping it thin through here, and it's cut through everything that I've asked it to cut through. Ergos are very comfortable. It does put you a little bit further back off of the cutting edge, but you can just scooch up a little bit and put the finger over top right here, and you'll get right up on that edge for your push cuts, or you can just have the thumb out and use that to kind of guide you, because the thumb studs are going to also need to be on the outside of the cardboard or whatever it is that you're cutting through, and those both will actually keep you off that sharpening choil so you don't slip into it and kind of get hung up. It'll keep you in the meat of the cutting path so that you're able to do the task as needed. It does feel like a 5-ounce knife, but again, it is also a little bit bigger than some of the other knives that I've showed you here with the crossbar locks. Now, I don't know, and I can't remember, and we'll bring it over here, but I feel like, and I think that's the same thing with the SIG K320. Yeah, so 5.3 ounces. What I was going to say is that that weight lends to it feeling a little bit more premium, which I know people are going to think, you know, it's a $50 D2 knife made in China, you're crazy. And I get where you're coming from, but the weight kind of made it feel, I was a little bit surprised by the weight. Felt very, very nice. Now, the other thing about this knife that I'm a little disappointed in, but I can't complain too much because I think the 124 was, but this does not have a reversible deep carry pocket clip, but this pocket clip is done really well. And it is deep carry, it's just not reversible. It is springy, and it does have enough of a goose bill here to where it actually catches the pocket very nicely, but it does not feel uncomfortable on hand. Like, it's there, it's letting you know that it's there, but it's not poking you when you go to grip it if you're trying to hang on to the knife and you're using it for a hard use. And it does have a lot of room for me to move around and to be able to find where I need to be on the knife, which I really do appreciate. I really like the thumb studs on this knife. It does remind me very much of what you find on the Bug Out, and I kind of wonder if, like, Bug Out or, see what I'm saying? Nah, they're a little bit thicker, so you probably couldn't use, or maybe you could use Bug Out thumb studs on here if you wanted some aftermarket options for your Predator. They may or may not fit, but test at your own risk. Don't take my advice. It looks really close like they could, but they may not. They work really well, though. I do enjoy using them, and it does kick out really nicely. The other advantage to the phosphor bronze washers and the pivot is going to be less susceptible to affecting the action because of the fact that it's not going to allow as much dirt and debris down in there on the washers, because the tolerances are going to be much, much tighter. The other thing that I thought was really weird on this particular one is that it has this shouldering. I'm not quite sure why they felt like they needed to do the shouldering. The stop pin doesn't do anything in the closed position. It is all the crossbar lock that keeps that in place and that stops it from moving around. And let's see here, I didn't actually test that. Nope, nothing's poking out to where you can get to it. It is down inside that backspacer. But I'm not quite sure why they just didn't make that flush, or what the reason behind having it on the edge is, outside of the fact that they, I don't know, maybe wanted the stability to be right on the edge. But why not just make it flat, I guess? I don't know. And I'm saying all that because that's how it is on the bug out. The bug out's completely flat, has a nice thick stop pin there. I don't want to, as you can see there, just a nice thick stop pin. Really works really well. And I'm not quite sure why they just didn't go for broke there on that particular. I mean, it's fine. It's going to stop and lock it in place, and it's going to be stable. But I'm just thinking, you know, when you get into a hard use perspective, how's that going to feel? Again, very comfortable in hand. Nice chamfering on the edges. Doesn't feel sharp at all. It's very nicely knocked down. It feels good. It is a slick G10. It is not rough, and it is not soft and grippy. Now on the inside, they did mill it out for weight reduction, so even though it's 4.9 ounces, there is some milling in there to help reduce the weight. But again, the steel liners going all the way down through, I think, just lend to the more premium feel that this knife gives you, even though it is a $50 Chinese-made knife. So really going to be hard to beat that. And honestly, the only thing that I would say that I've handled that I like a little bit better is actually going to be the Free Tiger FT2103 that I've picked up off Amazon. It is a little bit smaller, but because it is on the steel bearings, it does have better access to its crossbar lock. This runs into the same problem that I've complained about with the Gonzos and the Sativians, that it's just too flush, that they needed to thin it out a little bit here or bring the stud up on the crossbar lock. But this has better texturing on the G10, so it's a little bit more grippy, and it has, again, better, in my opinion, access to the crossbar locks, like meaning I can get more of my finger on those studs on the crossbar lock to be able to deploy it or close it or actuate the crossbar lock depending on what you're doing. And of course, the steel bearings feel very smooth compared to the washers, but again, the CMB is very smooth for being on phosphor bronze washers, and they seem like they're very thick, well done phosphor bronze washers. So I really do like that a lot. I do prefer the pocket clip on the Free Tiger, but the pocket clip itself is still a little bit low compared to where it is on the CMB. The CMB has it in a better position where it's going to ride deeper in the pocket. The edges are both very nice on here, but you're getting this one for under 30. You're paying almost 50 for this one. So that's kind of where I left it with that. As far as other recommendations, at this price point, it's really tough to do. Again, if you're just looking for a beater, I recommend, as always, the Buck 110. It's a nice, just leave it in your glove box, tool box, whatever it is, type knife. Has a hollow grind, really big, nice grip pattern here for you to use. It's a nice alternative recommendation for a work knife if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for a budget cutter that's D2, there's so many of them out there, and this is a good example. So hopefully that has helped you. Hopefully you enjoyed today's review. If you did, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't already subscribed. Turn that notification bell on to all so that you get alerts whenever future videos drop, and so that you don't miss any content that you might be interested in checking out. You don't have to watch it just because you get the notice. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram, and as always, I hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Peace.